Everybody, I am thrilled to have a bit of a reunion of sorts with two friends
Yeah,
and filmmakers and film appreciators. I'm talking, of course, about Rebecca Martin Fagerholm and Michael Glover Smith. Welcome to the show. I we're kind of in film festival season. It seems like there are
yeah,
different kinds of film festivals popping up all over the place, all throughout the year. But Chicago is just like is lousy with film festivals, and we're here to talk about a very special one, the
yeah.
fifth annual Cinema Femme Short Film Festival. Did I get that right? That was a
So
mouthful.
it's a bit confusing because kicked off our first festival in 2020, but we've had four editions of the festival since 2020 because we had two in 2021. Sorry, my dog's gonna pop up. But anyways, so this is our fifth edition.
Okay. So, but it has been happening within a sequence of years, so I could put annual in parentheses and still be kind of correct.
Yeah, yes, kind of. Yeah. I mean, technically it's like the third year, but it's like been five editions. So
I
That's
think
yeah.
I
incredible.
think biannual is the word you're looking for.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the save. And this is going to be taking place at the Music Box. This is the first year that you're doing sort of a hybrid festival. First of all, let's talk about and Michael, you co-directed a film that's going to be showing at the festival, so we'll talk about that a bit. But Rebecca, tell us about Cinema Femme. Tell us about the festival, how this all kind of came together, and what sets this year's festival apart from the previous editions.
Yeah, so Cinema Femme started as a magazine in 2018. I started it because I felt that there was not enough representation in the media, um, like written about films, like the writers there wasn't enough representation. No offense to, the company I'm with, but there's been a lot of middle-aged white men that have been writing about film and just to back it up a little bit more, in 2011 I started a film discussion group called the Chicago Film Lover Exchange, and I just met a lot of cool women who were talking about film, and I was just like, why isn't this reflected, in our media? So I felt, the call to do a magazine where women and non-binary people would write about films, and so, a place where we could give a voice, a platform. And also, I started interviewing filmmakers, women and non-binary filmmakers. And it seemed that our audience was mostly emerging female and non-binary filmmakers who felt seen for the first time. And they were just reading our interviews like, so excited about them and everything. And so I wanted to create a platform where these emerging filmmakers would have an opportunity to connect on a personal level with the filmmakers they were reading about. So I started a mentorship program and a film festival, and the mentorship program is like the main prize of the festival. So hopefully this makes sense, but we choose 20 short films by emerging filmmakers, and we have four mentors. So this year we have Isabel Sandoval, who's a big filmmaker. She's done a lot of TV. She did the Netflix film Lingua Franca. We have Melora Walters, who is in Magnolia, and she's a big actress. Stephanie Filo, who's an Emmy-winning editor. She edited a Black Lady sketch show, which is on HBO. And Julie Keck, who is a producer in Chicago. So they pick four filmmakers behind these 20 films for a 6-month mentorship.
Wow. So, and I assume these mentorships are in kind of the specific fields that the people who are the mentors are, editing, producing, directing, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we have a variety of filmmakers who come, like, are pretty much from all over the world. and they all have, you know, their own visions and creativity and talents. And so it's, you know, not one woman filmmaker is the same. You know, we got a lot of different kinds. So yeah, it's just an opportunity for these different seasoned industry members to connect with these you know, different, diverse, emerging filmmakers, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
But how is this year's program going to be different than certainly how it started in 2020?
So we started as a online festival, partially because of the pandemic, but partially because I was running the whole thing and I couldn't afford running a theater space at that time. So we were lucky and fortunate to have Seed and Spark host our festival online, which connected us with some amazing filmmakers like Karan Kusama, Alice Waddington, and just some other big filmmakers. But we've had supporters throughout the years, and we got sponsors for this year, so I could afford a theater, like and Music Box has always been my favorite in Chicago. So yeah, I was able to pay for a rental this year for 4 screenings. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting to see it all come together.
And why, I'm curious, why shorts? Is it a matter of being able to, have a lot of, different kind of diverse screenings and voices in one, it's chopped up into a series of programs, or is there another reason? Are there plans potentially in the future to, host feature-length films?
So the reason why we do short films, because this festival is really geared around the mentorship program. So it's a way for emerging filmmakers who usually start with doing short films.
Okay.
It's a way for them to showcase their voice and their vision in a shorter form that makes it, I guess, easier for the mentors to really go through the material. So short films just seem to make sense for the festival. In terms of features in the future, I mean, we might showcase like one feature film, like a spotlight film. Like this year, we have a spotlight that is a short film, but it's by a seasoned filmmaker, Rebecca Tickle. She was actually in Prancer as a little girl. She starred in Prancer, but her short film is called Regenerate Ojai. And Laura Dern is the voice of the narrator of the film. So it's like, that's not an emerging filmmaker. It's somebody who's been in the business for a while, but I want to elevate environmental activism on screen. So that's like our spotlight film. So maybe in the future we'll do like a feature spotlight.
Very cool. Now you said that there's 20 films, right? Tell me about the submissions and the selection, because do you get thousands of entries, hundreds? How do you parse them down?
Well,
what are you looking for in a movie, a short film that you're going to feature at the CINEMA FEMME festival?
Yeah, so our programming team was mainly filmmakers that are really passionate about elevating women and non-binary filmmakers. Emily Robinson, who's an actress who was in 8th grade, she's a filmmaker. She was recently in The Year Between, so she did really well in that. Ashley Shelton, who Michael's familiar with, she was on the programming team. And Peyton Robinson, who's a film critic who likes to elevate films by women and non-binary people, and she's also really into horror films. So that I wanted to get a team that was passionate about what we were doing, and so they reviewed the films and then they chose their favorites, and then I reviewed their favorites, and then that's how I selected the 20 films. And I usually look for filmmakers that have like this budding talent that aren't necessarily like super established. Like it would be somebody who a mentorship would be very valuable for them to help navigate their careers. So it's kind of like a combination of emerging talent and just, having a mentorship in their life makes sense for their career.
As far as the mentorship idea, I mean, you've done this for a while. Can you tell me about some of the, I guess, the impacts that those
Yeah.
mentorships have had on the
Mhm.
mentees and also the mentors? Like, I assume it's not just a one-way street, that the established folks are probably getting something out of the experience as well. Can you share some
Yeah,
examples?
yep. So a great example is from our first edition in 2020. Laura Moss is a non-binary filmmaker, and they actually just had their feature debut at Sundance, Birth Rebirth, and they're actually going to be at the Critics Fest this year.
Yeah.
So they mentored Gabriela Ortega, who had their directorial debut at our festival. She had just been acting, she never directed before, and now she's been, screening her films at Tribeca and Sundance, and she works for Disney now. It's just like she just like skyrocketed after our festival as a director, and I think Laura and Gabriella like really benefited from their relationship with each other. Like Laura has been in the business for a bit, but Gabriella already had that talent. It was just a matter of introducing her to the right people and helping her navigate. Now she's just like killing it. So that's the example I like to give the most. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing following the careers of all of these filmmakers, who some of them have been on HBO, like their films, like or they've been a part of these bigger projects. So
Well, it's great because, they say sometimes you just need that one shot, just the door nudged open a little bit to show
exactly.
everyone you can do, and you're providing that door or
Yeah,
opening
because
it for I don't know.
honestly, I don't have the money, like, or, we're getting financial support now, but I know I do like hundreds of interviews. So like with women and non-binary people. So I am fortunate to have personal connections with all these filmmakers. So it makes sense for me to be the connector, and to have like a platform where, I can build this community. So yeah.
And I want people to understand, you have a day job and
Yeah.
you're running an online, publication and a film festival and you got, hitched recently.
Yes.
How, how do you balance everything or are you running on fumes right now?
Um, Yeah, so I think I'm just super passionate about what I do. I mean, it's kind of like going back to the discussion group I started in 2011. I was just so passionate about being with film lovers and discussing film. And that grew to like, I started it and then it got to over 7,000 members in like 3 years. And I just get joy and excitement about building communities. And I like creating platforms where I feel voices aren't represented enough. Because honestly, I just feel like something that I was a part of with Camera Ambassador this year. We started a magazine called The Call Sheet, which is a partnership between CINEMA FEMME and Camera Ambassador. And it also reflects a lot of the things that CINEMA FEMME is doing, elevating emerging talent, because I just want what people see in the industry to look different. Like I want, our mentorship program is called Breaking Down Walls. It's inspired from an interview I did with the Oscar-winning production designer Hannah Beachler, and she did the production design for Black Panther. And she was just like, I don't want to go to that ceiling. Like, I just want to break down the walls and redesign the building. And that's exactly what I feel inspired and driven to do. I want to break the conventions of the industry. You know, the Oscars, again, was super disappointing with the lack of, you know, nominations for women and non-binary directors. And so, yeah, like, that drives me enough. So most of my free time, I guess, would be towards Cinema Femme, and that's fine with me. But yeah, at this point with the festival, I'm just going on kind of like my driven energy. So, but I'm really excited, very excited.
Well, it is great that you're showcasing these talents, and really, yeah, because I've heard the complaints about like the Academy Awards and mainstream media, and it's always kind of a puzzlement to me because these are the folks who are out there the most talking about,
Yeah.
you know, women and LGBT and, you know,
Yeah.
multiculturalism and
Yeah.
diversity. And then we see, you know, what they're actually voting for. And that's a whole other conversation. But
Yeah.
what I love about hearing what you're doing is actually doing something about it. You know, like I want these voices to be heard, not just talking about how I want voices to be heard, but actually giving them a megaphone. That's very cool. I do want to
Thank
talk
you.
about, well, you're welcome. But I do want to talk about sort of impacts, but as a closer, impacts of the festival, because right now you've been sitting so very patiently in your car, Michael. I want to talk to you about Paper Planes, the film that
Yes.
you
Woohoo.
co-directed with Alyssa Thordarson. And you know, I can't remember if it was the kind of the press release or description or something, but it's described as like a kind of a Hallmark film. It's a very touching uh, little episode about two people who are across the hall from each other, and paper planes become very important to their budding, you know, relationship. I won't give away what that is, but tell me about how that kind of came together, because you're at this point, I think it's fair to say, a seasoned filmmaker. Was Alyssa, was she kind of new to this, and how did that collaboration work? And tell me a bit about that collaboration, if you could.
It's true, Ian. I'm very seasoned, which is my favorite euphemism for old.
I meant it
I'm
in the
definitely
term flavorful, not old, flavorful, seasoned. Yes.
I'm definitely not an emerging filmmaker, the kind that Rebecca likes to spotlight. But first of all, I'm a huge fan of Cinema Femme, so it's a really big honor to have this film in the festival. You know, I attended the festival last year, and I saw a lot of great films by first-time filmmakers like Mary Tilden and Alison Torum, you know, directing their first films and just knocking it out of the park. But my co-director on this film is Alyssa Thordarson, and she is an emerging filmmaker. It was her first time ever directing, and she also wrote the script. So I think of it really more as her film than mine. I mean, she is the primary author, but as the secondary author, as her co-director, I also put my heart and soul into the making of this film because I fell in love with her script, which I thought was just, it was a beautiful script, and it kind of, you know, reminded me of the movies that I make, to be honest with you. Because if you were to put a gun to my head and say, Michael Glover Smith, what are the most prominent themes in your work? I would probably say, well, relationships, and more specifically, how people communicate. So when I read this script, which is about, you know, neighbors across the hall who develop a written correspondence, I thought, man, this really feels like something I would have written. And so I just wanted to help her, you know, bring that world that she had created to life. And so I offered to, you know, help her co-direct it.
Did Alyssa send you the screenplay folded up into an airplane?
Well, she did it via Twitter DMs. She did the
Okay.
electronic version of that. It's kind of a funny story. She actually took a picture of the top sheet of the screenplay and tweeted that image. And she wrote, "Does anyone want to help me make this little holiday rom-com. And so I responded to her because I was a big fan of the film that she wrote last year called After, a love story. Did you see that film, Ian?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, so she wrote it and starred in it, but Claire Cooney directed it. It's quite good.
That's okay. I knew the name, but that's yeah, I didn't catch up with it. Shame on me. So yeah.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's on Amuleto. You can watch it for free on YouTube, and you should watch it and then interview Alyssa about both films. And so I just wrote her a DM and I said, hey, I'd love to take a look at it and maybe I could help you. And I wasn't really thinking about directing, and I thought maybe I could help her produce it, because I've also been kind of producing for other people now too. Having gone through, the experience of directing 4 features, I feel like I've kind of figured out how to do it. And so I'm kind of trying to pass on what I know to other filmmakers who've never really directed before. And so when I met with Alyssa, I as soon as I read it, I thought she needs to direct this because it's very female centric. But I felt like she kind of thought that she didn't really possess the technical knowledge of filmmaking. So I said, well, why don't you cast the film? Since you're the actress, you can direct the actors, and then I'll hire the crew, and then I'll show you how I collaborate with a cinematographer and with a first AD and with a composer. And so I kind of invited her into that process.
It's interesting you say that, about how you thought that she should direct or at least be involved in it because she, it's a female-centric story and she is, a woman and you are not. But you have written and directed films involving female characters, and to my point of view, they're very honest, they're very relatable and realistic. My question is, after having watched the final product or watched her in action with some, input from you, the sort of mentor-mentee kind of thing we were talking about a little bit ago, just real quick, did you think about how you would have directed differently, or did you think, oh, I never would have picked up on this, or I never would have thought to capture this moment in this way? Do you think it affected the way you might consider, your future projects, the way you approach, your female characters, even your male characters?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a new experience for me because I've never co-directed before. And had I directed this script on my own, it would have ended up very different. I don't know if you noticed this, but Alyssa's character in the film is wearing a Bruce Springsteen t-shirt. That would not have been in my version. She would have been wearing a Bob Dylan shirt if I had directed it solo. But on a more profound level, I mean, I think I could tell that this particular story was personal to Alyssa. So even more than being female centric, I could tell that the issues that she was exploring, which, involved kind of normalizing mental health issues and normalizing, the representation of queer romance, those are things that are very personal to her. Based on who she is. And so it only felt right that she did more than just be the writer. And yes, one thing that she taught me, even though it was her first time directing, she wanted to hire an intimacy coordinator because there is a kiss in the film. And that is something I would have never considered doing unless there was a more, explicit sex scene. I would have never seen the point of hiring an intimacy coordinator for just a simple kiss. But then once we had our great intimacy coordinator, Courtney Abbott, on the set, I completely understood. It was a revelation. This intimacy coordinator made the actors so comfortable, and I could tell that they trusted her. Everything was choreographed, and that made the actors much more comfortable. When I've had kisses in my own films, I never have the actors kiss until the camera is rolling. Like they never do it in rehearsal. And I always in the past thought it was kind of exciting to kind of not know what we were going to capture until the camera rolled. And it is kind of fun because you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what people are going to do when they kiss.
But it's fun for you, not necessarily the actors are out on that highway. Like, how's this going to go?
Exactly. But going forward, I'll never do it without an intimacy coordinator, because I see what a difference that made in terms of the performances.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned intimacy coordinator, because one of the other films I was able to watch a few of the shorts, in addition to Paper Planes, Caroline, which is, I don't know if the popcorn sales are going to plummet during that during that, because I was on the edge of my seat and kind of sick to my stomach during this entire like 11 minutes or however long it was, because there's a young woman who's going in to audition for as a TV or a film role, and she had specialized in intimacy coordinating and like stage combat or something like that. I won't say much more about the film, but you reminded me of that, and I watched that film this morning. So it's a weird intimacy coordinator. The universe wants me to think about that for some reason. But no, that's to say that that is a very different kind of film than Paper Planes, and I think from what I've seen of the stuff that's going to be playing at the festival, it runs a wide gamut of types of stories about types of people in front of and behind the camera. I think that's really inspiring. Yeah, Michael, I'm going to talk to you and Alyssa and whoever else I can about Paper Planes, I think more in depth and after A Love Story later. But I do want to kind of finish up here with Rebecca, and maybe Michael, you can jump in if you have any observations on this. But Rebecca, this is for you. The reason you kind of started the festival was to elevate voices and kind of open up discussions involving different types of filmmakers and elevating women and non-binary folks. This is 3 years ago. What have you seen the impacts in the kind of the film industry or film intelligentsia conversations? Are things getting better? Are they getting worse? Is it just the kind of thing where it could always improve? But where do you think things stand now in terms of the impact that Cinema Femme or the people coming out of it has sort of had on the culture?
Yeah, I always go back to authenticity, which I said it right. Sometimes I have a hard time saying that word, authenticity, but I am drawn to authentic stories that come from a personal place. And I would say a lot of my interviews with filmmakers, I always say, what advice do you have for emerging filmmakers just starting out? And most of them are like, be true to yourself, be authentic. If anyone tells you to do something that you're not comfortable with or something that's not aligned with your vision, like stay true to you, like make sure that you're getting across what you want to see on screen. And I feel like that is what is making a difference in the industry by having these stories from all over, these women connecting personally, showing their vision on screen and not letting people mess with it, and having like this community of seasoned professionals that can really foster what these filmmakers are doing. And I feel like, just seeing Gabriela Ortega getting her film out there everywhere, like she started her short film was about her life in Puerto Rico and her relationship with her father, and such a personal story. And that short film is actually on HBO Max right now, which is crazy, but that's an example of somebody who's stayed true to their, culture and their personal stories. And I know that's what's going to make a difference, because people connect with authenticity. So
Excellent. Michael, do you have anything to add on to that?
I just want to say that I think what Rebecca is doing with this festival is amazing. And I think it's really important for men to come out and support this particular festival, especially men who are involved in the local industry. We all talk about how important gender equality is. There are a lot of male film critics who talk about representation and male filmmakers who talk about it, but the guys need to put their money where their mouth is and buy tickets and go support these female filmmakers. Opening night is completely sold out. That's the night Paper Planes is playing, but guys, you need to buy tickets to the shows on Wednesday, May 3rd at the Music Box.
Yeah.
And there is also, yes, I definitely want to emphasize that, but there is also, for folks who can't make it to opening night, there is, again, an online component to it. Now, are the Q&As and the filmmaker interviews and stuff, those are specifically at the Music Box venue. Are those going to be streamed or available somehow else?
Yeah, so we actually have in-person Q&As, which are going to be done. I'm moderating all the in-person Q&As, but for the online ones, that gives an opportunity for the people who aren't able to come to the in-person screenings to participate. And I'm having a seasoned filmmaker or more seasoned filmmaker moderate. Like Claire Cooney is going to be moderating the Let's Chicago Shorts Program 1 Q&A. Numa Perrier is going to be moderating Shorts Program 2. Sorry, hold on a second.
That's right.
Patricia Vidal Delgado is going to be doing Shorts Program 3, and Ashley Shelton's doing 4. So
excellent. Well, this is happening. It's May 3rd, which is sold out, and April 28th is the opening night.
30th.
April 30th.
April 28th is when the online festival starts.
Okay, so I'm going to straighten all this out in the information down below where you can get tickets and the schedule and all that good stuff. Folks should definitely check it out. Support Rebecca and everything that she's doing. Support Michael and everything that he's doing. You two are truly two of my favorite people and creatives, in and around Chicago, although we don't hang out nearly as much as I'd like. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, for hanging out and sharing the story of this amazing festival. On to bigger and brighter and better things. Best of luck and huge congratulations, especially to you, Rebecca. I still don't know how you do all of this stuff. But
I don't either. I can't explain it.
Well, you don't need to. You're doing it. You have no time to explain. All right. Well, thanks, gang. Take care. And yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.